Yeah, right, mate. Thanks for clicking on the video. In our previous videos, we've discussed the various topics about EU law. What are exactly the competencies of the EU? When a sovereign state joins the EU, a certain amount of sovereignty gets transferred to the European Union. You may wonder which areas of the sovereignty get transferred exactly and how much of sovereignty gets transferred. Today we'll look at the relevant provisions of the TFEU which relate to the competencies of the EU. However, before we jump into that, I'd like to say a couple of words about this channel. Since I started this channel roughly a month ago, my videos have been watched by several hundred people from all over the world. Also, many viewers have subscribed to my channel, which gives me tremendous encouragement to continue cracking on. So I'd like to extend my gratitude to all my viewers and subscribers. Meanwhile, if you haven't subscribed, please kindly subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much. Second, at the moment, I'm making videos exclusively on EU law. However, in 2025, I'll start making videos on English law as well. So that's why I've got a Union Jack flag here. The videos on English law will be meant for A-level pupils, undergraduate students, and the candidates who want to sit the ECLI exams and to become a qualified solicitor of England and Wales. In other words, a lot of exciting content will come up. So please subscribe to my channel. Thank you. Alright, now let's dive into the competencies of the EU. When we discuss the competencies of the EU, there are three categories of competencies, namely exclusive competencies, shared competencies, and supplementary competencies. First, exclusive competencies. Pursuant to Article 2.1 of the TFEU, when the treaties confer on the Union exclusive competencies in a specific area, only the European Union may legislate and adopt legally binding acts. This means that the EU member states themselves may not legislate anymore in those specific areas, unless they are empowered by the Union to legislate or to implement Union acts. So what are the areas of exclusive competencies? This is arranged in Article 3.1 of the TFEU. Article 3.1 of the TFEU gives a list of areas of exclusive competencies. Article 3.1 says the Union shall have exclusive competencies in the areas of customs unions, the establishing of the competition rules necessary for the functioning of the internal market, monetary policy for the member states whose currency is the euro, the conservation of marine biological resources under the common fisheries policy, and the common commercial policy. It is a mouthful, so please let me break this down for you. The customs union means that the customs authorities of all EU member states work together as if they were one. They apply the same tariffs to goods imported into their territory from the rest of the world and apply no tariffs internally within the EU. EU competition rules refer to antitrust laws as referred to in Article 101 and Article 102 of the TFEU. For example, you may have watched my previous video on Article 102, abuse of a dominant position. If you haven't, you can click on the link above. Under monetary policy, we talk about the European System of Central Banks, ESCB, which consists of the European Central Bank, based in Frankfurt, Germany, and the national central banks of all the EU member states. The primary objective of the European System of Central Banks is to maintain price stability. The Common Fisheries Policy, CFP, is a set of rules for conserving marine biological resources and managing and controlling European fisheries inside and outside EU waters. It sets, for example, quotas for which member states are allowed to catch each type of fish. The objective of the CFP is to ensure that the fishing and aquaculture activities contribute to long-term environmental and social sustainability. The common commercial policies are further defined in Article 133 of the TFEU, which basically says that the common commercial policy encompasses the conclusion of trade agreements relating to trade in goods and services, the commercial aspects of intellectual property, foreign direct investment, trade protections such as anti-dumping and anti-subsidy rules. Okay, this is a quick recap of the areas of exclusive competences of the EU. Now let's have a look at the shared competences of the EU. Article 2.2 of the TFEU says, when the treaties confer on the Union a competence shared with the Member State in a specific area, the Union and the Member States may legislate and adopt a legally binding act in that area. However, the Member States will exercise their competence to the extent that the Union has not exercised its competence, and the Member States shall again exercise their competence to the extent that the Union has decided to cease exercising its competence. I know it is again a mouthful. You may actually use the adjective preemptive to describe the areas of shared competencies. In other words, once the European Union decides to legislate in an area of shared competencies, a member state can no longer legislate in that specific area. The competencies of the member states get taken away once the Union chooses to legislate. As long as the EU does not legislate, the member states keep their sovereignty. The specific areas of shared competences are defined in Article 4.2 of the TFEU. According to Article 4.2, the areas of shared competences are internal market, social policy for the aspects defined in the treaty, economic, social and territorial cohesion, agriculture and fisheries, environment, consumer protection, transport, trans-European networks, energy, an area of freedom, security and justice. It is a long list, so I'll try to elaborate on 3 of them. For example, internal market refers to the free movement of goods, as mentioned in Article 28 of the TFEU, and prohibition of import and export restrictions between member states, as referred to in Article 34 and 35 of the TFEU. The area of freedom, security and justice means, for instance, the absence of internal border controls for persons and a common policy on asylum, immigration and external border control. This is also why nowadays 80 to 90% of the immigration policies of the member states have been harmonized, because it is an area of shared competencies and the EU chooses to legislate very actively. Let me give you another example of an area of shared competencies, namely consumer protection. Consumer protection is an area of shared competencies. That's why there are EU laws regarding, for example, financial compensation in the event of a flight delay, flight cancellation, online purchase return policy, and the rules governing certain contents of the general terms and conditions. Okay, now we've discussed the 3 examples, which should be enough for the purpose of this video. So let's move on. Third, let's turn to the area of supplementary competencies. According to Article 2.5 of the TFEU, when it comes to supplementary competencies, the Union shall have competence to carry out actions to support, coordinate, or supplement the actions of the Member States, without thereby superseding their competence in these areas. So in other words, the sovereignty of the Member States in these areas of supplementary competencies coexist with the competencies of the EU. Which are these areas of supplementary competencies? That can be found in Article 6 of the TFEU. They are namely protection and improvement of human health, industry, culture, tourism, education, vocational training, youth, sport, civil protection, and administrative cooperation. For example, this is why there is not an EU-wide curriculum for primary or secondary schools, because it is an area of supplementary competencies, meaning that the member states themselves decide on such issues. This is nearly the end of this video. However, there is another important issue which needs to be addressed, namely Article 3.2 of the TFEU, which relates to the issue of implied external powers of the EU. This subparagraph of Article 3 is actually based on the case law of the European Court. The name of the judgment is the European Road Transport Agreement case, which is often abbreviated as ERTA, E-R-T-A. The key message of this ERTA case is that member states may lose their power to conclude international agreements if and when the EU has acted internally on the matter. Underneath this video, you can find the details of the ERTA case. If you are interested in this specific topic, you can look it up online. Thank you for your attention and support. Once again, if you like my video, please kindly subscribe to my channel. I wish you a lovely day. Cheers.